Hey, what's up guys? This is Meathead Mikkel from meatheadgaming.com, and today I want to make a video about why I believe that 2.0 legendaries at level 60 are about 99% useless, and why you shouldn't even bother trying to hunt for them. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that the game is actually incomplete at level 60 because we don't have the Mystic, and that's how Blizzard wants you to get the Reaper of Souls expansion. They changed the core mechanic of the game and design it for level 70 and tune everything for level 70 and not level 60. So, patch 2.0, it has a lot of cool things about it, but it's an incomplete game, and I'm going to explain why. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all the legendaries that I found. This is everything that I've found so far, and they're all useless. There are a couple items here that are situationally useful, usually in group play, but nothing in solo that I've actually used, with the exception of a couple items on my Templar. And actually, the best things that you're going to be able to get in the game right now, between now and RoS, are going to be crafted rares. And they're actually very powerful because, at level 60, the game is kind of in a weird place where legacy gear, especially certain legacy items, combined with certain new crafted rares, will actually make a very, very powerful character. And the biggest contributor to that is lifesteal. So lifesteal gets nerfed to 10% effectiveness at level 60, and then it's useless from 61 to 70. So the game's actually going to change a lot at 70. But here it's still useful, and so if you have a legacy weapon like this or something similar, if you're a two-handed user, you have a Scorn with lifesteal on it, all of which you can still get on the auction house. It's going to be a very tall order to replace this, no matter how good of an item you find, just because that item does not have lifesteal. So this is kind of one of those tricky legacy items. Also things like Zurimasa's, that adds poison damage. This is a huge DPS boost left over from Legacy. AP on crit items, if you're a wizard from Legacy, are extremely powerful. Crafted necks are extremely powerful because rare crafted items take a nerf to crit damage and attack speed rolls in 2.0, so it's only the legendary items that can actually roll high trifecta. And of course we have the Witching Hour, which, again, the attack speed and the crit damage rolls are a lot higher in Legacy. So, but if you take those items, and Enos Pants are pretty good too, but if you take those items and you combine them with crafted rares, like these are the ones that I've crafted, and they're pretty close to being perfect. The glove isn't that great. I wish I would have had crit damage instead of life on hit, but other than that, it's pretty solid. This is about as good as it gets for chest pieces, unless you want to do some kind of elemental, or not elemental, but skill damage instead of all resist. And then these are my bracers. I actually switch out to these when I'm doing solo, and then I'll pop these on if I'm doing Coda Archon runs. But enough of that. Let's talk about legendaries. So you kind of see the effectiveness of rares. Let's talk about legendaries. So because there's no Mystic at level 60, you can't reroll anything. And for some reason, maybe this is Blizzard trolling us, maybe it's just bad RNG, but I've actually seen pretty much everyone experience what I've experienced, which is most weapons, for instance, do not roll sockets, which makes them completely useless now and even in ROS. Because let's say you get something like this. Okay, well, this could roll a socket, but instead of like the life on hit, for example. But you're not going to reroll this at 70 because, yeah, you can always reroll the damage. You can reroll the damage on any of these and make it a high damage weapon at 70, but then you don't get a socket. So, and that's going to make it not competitive with other items, because then you still have this low life on hit amount, you have this low int roll, and both of those, they're still not going to be competitive with stats at level 70. And the only thing you're going to reroll is the damage. You have to reroll the damage. So anything you find on here, if it doesn't have a socket right now, if it's a one-handed weapon, it's utterly useless at level 70. You will find a better rare probably within a couple hours of gameplay. Armor could be a little bit different. You might, if you get some pretty good rolls, that's not a good example. Let's see, like for example, Angel Hair Braid. If you get some pretty good rolls on this, then you could theoretically reroll one of these, and maybe the life percentage, I think it goes up to 20% at level 70, and you could have something that might be useful for a few days, but for the most part, garbage. So I'm going to go through all these items real quick and kind of show you guys why there's no point in keeping any of this. This is all going to get vendored. I'm keeping it now just for kicks. And I have found some duplicates. So here's a couple of duplicates I found. This says primary stat and life on hit, primary stat and vitality. This, well, if I had an int character below level 60 that I was going to level again, might keep it because it has a level reduction requirement. Beyond that, absolutely not worth it. Same thing with this. What are you gonna reroll? I mean, you can reroll the damage, but no socket, no crit damage, no potential life on hit if you need it, no raw damage, no damage against elites. A socket is incredibly powerful. Like it's gonna be so hard to not roll a socket, not reroll something with a socket. These, okay, well, in theory they're kind of cool, but let's look at the stat ranges compared to rare. So on the Archon Armor, I'm getting 100 extra int roll. The only thing that this can roll a little bit more is just a tad more armor and a tad more all resist. And then I have the items become indestructible, but that doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, repair costs are a little bit higher, but you actually get gold, especially on Torment 6, so quickly that it's irrelevant. Broken Crown, well, it can roll really high in. And if followers could equip helms, then yeah, I'd give it to a follower, but beyond that, no, utterly useless. I wouldn't use this for anything. No primary stat. Found a couple blackguards. And two-handed weapons also are total garbage because they very, very rarely roll high damage. I mean, let's look at this. So this is a high-end, this is a pretty high-end roll on blackguard. All right, and rolled int vitality, no socket. But here's the thing. Let's say that this rolled a socket, and you put a crit damage gem in there. Now compare this to a Scorn. You could get a Scorn, a legacy Scorn, at 1400 DPS, almost for free on the auction house. That comes with a socket by default, and comes with up to 200% crit damage already built into it. So why on earth would anyone want to craft this or get this over a dirt-free Scorn or a dirt-cheap Scorn? No one would. And this is kind of what Blizzard is doing. They're making the game incomplete at 60, and it's going to hurt everyone. Here's another duplicate that I found. Cooldown reduction, yay. I mean, there's definitely going to be some cooldown builds in the future, but it's not worth giving up a socket over. Azurath is actually the only item that I would consider possibly using, and I'm going to be doing some more testing with my wizard. But this is an interesting item because it could have rolled a socket. It didn't. If it did, I would absolutely use it because of the cold damage. And I may re-roll the damage on this at 60 just to try it out, but because the lifesteal that I'm currently rolling with is going to be useless. But even this will probably get replaced fairly quickly. And actually, this freeze chance when it hit, it's not an accurate description. There's a proc coefficient on spells, And there's also some kind of proc limiter, which I have to test more, but if I spam Blizzard or if I spam Arcane Orb, it doesn't really proc 25% of the time. It's a lot less. And when it does, it only seems to proc on one monster. So if I'm hitting 10 of them, you would think that on average about 2 to 2.5 of them would be frozen. No, on average 0 of them are frozen. So even the procs are nerfed. They have internal mechanics that are not explained. Blackthorns, I found a couple pieces. Maybe it definitely gives you a lot of toughness with the 2-piece bonus, but you look at the rolls on this, not too great. Reaver, don't really need to explain this. Garbage, absolute garbage. 1100 DPS, two-handed staff. Why would anyone use this? These drop a lot for people. The Compass Rose and Traveler's Pledge drop a lot, and they probably drop a lot because they're lower end, and again, no one's going to use these over a crafted amulet. Even now that you can craft amulets in 2.0, about 10-20 crafts will get you something with crit chance on it, and it's automatically going to be better than most legendary amulets that you find at this point. But if this had crit damage on it, or crit chance, could be useful, but as it stands, no, not really. Wrath of the Bone King, and it's unfortunate too because some of these, like this one, they look pretty cool. I mean, this is a look at this thing. This thing's pretty awesome looking, but it's not useful. And yes, it could have rolled higher damage. If you look at the damage ranges, this would actually roll somewhere around here. It could. But it's still not going to be competitive. I mean, it gives you 2% crit chance, which does not equal any kind of crit damage roll at all. Crit chance and crit damage in Blizzard's eyes are around a 1 to 10 ratio. So 1% crit chance is roughly equal to 10% crit damage. The most obvious example of this is their tuning on Paragon points. So if I maxed, max crit chance is 5%, max crit damage is 50%. It's a 10-to-1 ratio. It's not always the case, and there are builds where you can do some crazy things where you don't need one or the other, but for the most part it's 10-to-1. So this is like having an extra 20% crit damage. Yay. Okay, got both these chainmails. Cool, after earning a survival bonus, quickly heal to full life. I have gained a survival bonus maybe 2 or 3 times since I started playing. If I get so low on health that I actually get the bonus, well, I usually just die if that's going to happen, if I'm going to get that low on health. So this isn't really going to help you out at all. The stat ranges could roll a little bit higher. So this could be a good replacement if you got high rolls and you got 3 sockets, just from a stat standpoint. But you have to find several of these. So maybe that's another thing that Blizzard is doing, is they're trying to get you to keep farming legendaries over and over and over to try to get the same ones, so that you can kind of find a better base one and then re-roll that. Monster Hunter, pretty good damage for a one-hand weapon, but no socket, and it's got some base crit damage on it. This could roll a socket, so unfortunately I got kind of unlucky. Actually, it was Pig Sticker that I saw someone with that had a really, really nice Pig Sticker that did roll a socket, and when you have that, then yes, some of these rares that are legendaries that drop at 60 they'll be pretty good. But again, of all these items, I'll show you guys that I did get 2 with sockets, but that's because they roll socket by default. I have actually not gotten a socket on anything that doesn't automatically come with a socket, so that's a very rare roll. Nothing fancy. Grandfather used to be a great sword at Diablo 2, still sucks in D3. Fragment of Destiny, this could be kind of cool if it rolled a socket, once again, because of the Spectral Blade damage and the cooldown reduction. But as it stands now, this could be kind of cool. Might use it on a low beat, or when I level up Crusader, I might use this because it has a reduced level requirement. Found a barb set weapon. Has some sustain, but no socket, no crit damage. So once again, can't do much about it. Ivory Tower Shield has some melee damage reduction, rolls primary stat. This is kind of like a weaker Storm Shield. So this could be okay for a follower. That's about it. And I'll show you guys in a few minutes that the only items that I did find that were useful were for followers. This one could actually be decent for like an enchantress if you're using one because of the up to 40% chance to blind. So it'd be a good CC sword again, but for followers, not for you. They kind of get the hand-me-downs. So barber, no socket. I found this pretty much at the beginning. Interesting stat rolls and that sort of thing. But look at the damage roll. Damage roll is horrendous. I mean, you can't. The stats don't make up for this. So, and it's fine that AP on crit is nerfed. It's a little too, I don't want to say broken, but it's a little too desirable in Legacy Diablo, so I agree with the change. Found Schaefer's Hammer. Kind of cool in theory, right? No socket, but it's got some level reduction, so if I use a two-handed weapon on some character that I'm going to level up, then I suppose I could use it for an ult. Nope. Absolutely not. Now these are actually kind of cool because they can roll damage to a specific skill, and so if you're using any of those skills, then this could actually be pretty decent. Unfortunately, I'm not. So let's get to kind of the better items, or the marginally useful items. Thunder Fury. A lot of people are rolling around with this. It comes with a socket, but from my testing, again, this chance on blast, or chance on hit to blast your enemy with lightning, it has a proc coefficient with certain spells. So, if I'm casting like Magic Missile, for example, it's going to proc very often, like almost half the time. If I'm spamming something like Frozen Orb, it doesn't proc nearly as much. So the procs on this, or if I'm even spamming like Meteor, or Electrocute, if I'm going for a lightning build on my wizard, doesn't proc nearly as much. So it's cool. It could be decent, but it doesn't proc as much. So this one's kind of out. Found Alright, but I might reroll this to higher damage because it does have a socket. Alright's Law, another item that I found that has a socket, but it comes with a socket, just like Thunder Fury. It automatically comes with a socket, so also not really useful because if I find another one at 70, well, I'll just reroll like the int roll on it or something because I'm already going to have the damage. At this point, the only thing I can reroll is the damage. We looked at this already. So these two, I use these situationally. So if I'm doing group Coda runs, I might put this on because it'll boost my toughness up to 1.5 mil, and then I pop Archon for Coda runs, and then I'll be at 2 mil toughness. But I don't do it in solo because it drops my damage too much over a Legacy Witching Hour. Now, if this had rolled higher stats, so it goes up to almost 350 on int and vitality, then yeah, if it had rolled in the 300s, then I would consider using it instead of what I have now. So this could actually be usable, but again, like 99% of items aren't usable when you compare them to Legacy and when you compare them with how quickly they're going to be replaced in RoS. Another one, this could be pretty decent. It does have attack speed, doesn't have the crit damage, but I would get a lot more toughness, and this would be kind of an equal trade-off. Found an SOJ. This, you could use on swap if you're soloing or even in group play. If you want to take when you're taking on elites, you know, it's reasonable to swap this out. So this is actually a decent item at 60. Until you find another one at 70, it'll still be useful because it does give you a percentage boost to your element type, and it gives you a percentage boost to damage against elites, and that's pretty good. So yes, you can absolutely find a better one at 70, but this is going to be somewhat useful between now and then. Now let's talk about my Templar. I did find a couple items that are pretty good for a follower, and like I said, you will find some upgrades for followers, but not really for you. Primarily because they have stat rolls, and followers get a 2.5% or 2.5 multiplier to stats. So items with high stat rolls but no socket or no crit damage, they're actually going to be pretty good for followers. So I'm just using this Odin Sun I found when I was playing with my monk. It's okay, I just didn't know what to give him, but I gave him this anyway. But the two items that are pretty nice for him to help him survive a lot against elites are Eye of Elec, because it has, you know, mine rolled 30% melee or range damage reduction, which is huge. And so he's got, you know, he takes 30% less damage from ranged. And then this is the new Storm Shield. Mine rolled 29% damage reduction from melee and perfect damage reduction from elites. So these two items give him, you know, 30% ranged and melee reduction and another 9% reduction from elites. So he can definitely tank now at Torment 6 and tank fairly well. But again, guys, that's about it. Of all the items that I found, you know, these are all getting trashed. The only things I'm going to keep are, I'll probably keep the orb, just in case I find other level 70 pieces, and this might help me complete the set quicker, and I'll probably just reroll the damage stat on it. So I'll keep the orb, and you may want to keep some set pieces again, because you'll find level 70 versions of them, but they're still the same set. So you'll be able to complete a set quicker if you save them now. So I'll save this. I'll probably save Blackthorns just to test out the 4-piece bonus if I ever get it. Not that Desecrator, Molten, or Plagued are ever really an issue for me. I think it's a cool mechanic, but there are much better items out there. I'll say the Azurath because I'm doing some more testing with the Frost Wizard, and this is one out of 2 or 3 items that are actually going to be this for the Frost Wizard, because of the extra cold damage that you get from it if you roll it correctly. And I might hang on to this just to swap it out, just to do a quick swap, like if I'm taking on elites or bosses or something like that, and I don't want to lose my Poison Reflection stacks. And I will most likely hang on to these because they do have sockets. I'll reroll the damage just to see how high the damage rolls, and I'm going to hang on to the SOJ. Everything else, vendored. So that's it, guys. There's the only thing left to do between now and ROS is just grind XP, and that's why a lot of my videos, pretty much all of them, have been about maximizing XP per hour, because that's the only useful thing that you're going to get in ROS. Going from Diablo 1.0 to 2.0 was kind of like a soft reset in gear. We swapped out a lot of pieces, a lot of items dropped drastically in value, like Team necklaces. No one's really buying them anymore. So it's kind of a soft reset because we're replacing certain pieces of gear. But ROS is going to be a hard reset. All the lifesteal stuff you have, worth absolutely nothing. Worth less than nothing, because it's now a useless roll. And you can't re-roll legacy items anyway. So, and that's just for that item. I mean, this, yeah, you might keep your AP on crit. It's got a socket. You could put a high-level gem in there and still have it be somewhat useful. But how long is it really going to be useful for? Because level 70 items have so much more stats and so much more damage, and they're just superior in every single way, that if you play a decent amount, within a week time, you're going to replace everything you have. So no real reason to specifically farm for legendaries right now because the game is incomplete. We don't have the Mystic at 60. We won't have the Mystic at 60. And so we can't really do anything with most of the items that we find. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. This is Meathead Mikkel from meatheadgaming.com. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And new computer is on the way, so I will have that soon. See you guys.